So the earlier chapters were chapter 2 and 3. They were three especially, is that our taste is based on our adhikar. It's not about how many esoteric pastimes I know, um, or how well can I speak of Krishna Katha, I can do Krishna Katha. That's not the basis. Uh, uh, when we talk of taste, it's not superficial. Taste is to serve and please Krishna, and speaking Krishna Katha in a way it will please Krishna. If speaking of Rasa Leela arouses material desires, it is not beneficial for people. So that's not a good, that's not your taste then. So Prabhupada used to say that my purports are my devotional ecstasies. He meant that they were Krishna-centered, not self-centered. So, and what gives Krishna ecstasy? What gives Krishna ecstasy is when souls are unable to come to Krishna. So when we talk of all the three adhikars, Kanishta, Madhyama, Uttama, it is about how dedicated that person is committed in service of Krishna. So, so yeah. There was when Prabhupada was here, there was a group of devotees who got together and started a club. It was called the Gopi Bhav Club, and they had, oh no, if becoming a gopi is the final goal, so why should we go through all this other things? We just directly go to the main thing. And Prabhupada didn't appreciate that. Prabhupada wanted everybody to progress for sure. He wanted everybody to become a pure devotee, but he also didn't want them to pretend to be something they're not. So he was not very happy with that group. So yes, that's the eligibility. Okay. Now this chapter is about liberation, right? That devotees don't desire liberation. And these chapters, chapter 4 especially, is a set of quotations mostly. There are a lot of verses that that Rupa Goswami is presenting from different, I think mostly Bhagavatam, but there's some other books also he'll refer to. So he's giving a lot of those quotations, and uh, so he's talking about how devotees they reject bhukti and mukti also. So he's giving, I put all these, most of the references here from Bhagavatam, and beginning with the first pastime of Maharaj Prithu. Right? So Maharaj Prithu, he started with that. This was the episode where he had to just be content with 99 horse sacrifices. He couldn't take it to the 100 because they kept stealing his horse. So this is at that point when Lord comes, he becomes. This is what Prithu Maharaj says. So what the most basic concept or the most important concept in avoiding impersonalism or liberation is that one does not get the chance to hear the Lord's pastime or be engaged in service, to be more specific. And devotees don't like that. They don't like that situation to be. They want service. And, many impersonal spiritualists think that liberation is the topmost. And this was kind of the orthodox Vedic society in India, where the caste system was very deeply rooted. Even up to the time of Mahaprabhu, there was a story of Gopal Chakravarti and Haridas Thakur in the Antya Leela, where Haridas Thakur was speaking, and this Brahmin comes and starts criticizing Haridas Thakur. Haridas Thakur was saying that even in the Namabhas, just by doing Namabhas, just by getting a hint of this pure devotion, you can surpass liberation. And he didn't appreciate that. And then he goes on to curse Haridas Thakur that, hey, if you are lying, then may your nose fall off. And then the story goes on that he got leprosy and his nose fall off. So the Lord does not like it when his devotees are insulted. So impersonalism, or sorry, not impersonalism, but that kind of that orthodox Vedic society, it was very, very deep rooted. And that's the reason why this chapter exists here. And somebody could say that, oh, why do we need a chapter on liberation? Yeah, we know, there's no that, yeah, we're not interested in liberation. But why to make it a full chapter? The purpose is that um, because no, that's um, how well the Goswamis were following Mahaprabhu's instruction. Right? It is important to establish this, to establish that impersonalism, mukti, is not the goal of life. That is why Prabhupada stressed so much on it. Rupa Goswami is dedicating a full chapter on it. Goswamis are Nana Shastra Vicharinai Kanipadaṁ. The Sad Goswami Ashtakam. They're called the Nana Shastra Vicharinai Kanipunam, that they have gone through all the Shastras. They're very expert in reading Shastras. And also, Mahaprabhu, when he gave his final instructions to Rupa and Sanatan Goswami in the Antya Leela, he specifically asked them to rasa bhakti kariha prachar, that you should distribute this rasa bhakti. The rasa bhakti means the mellows of loving relationship with Krishna. So Mahaprabhu wanted his followers to give up this liberation and the concept of liberation. Right. So Rupa Goswami and Sanatana Goswami in the Antalila, when they meet Mahaprabhu, they're given this instruction. So yes, so devotionals, and then Prabhupada goes on to, no, sorry, not Prabhupada, Rupa Goswami goes on to give examples of many different personalities in Bhagavatam. There's an example about King Bharat. Right? Then there's an example of Vritasura. Before that, we go. So he never accepted material opulences. So King Bharat had all the opulences in the world, and he gave all of that up. So then the example of Vritasura is given. This is 6:11, 6:11:25. Yes. Right. Nanak prishtam, na chaparameshtam, na sarvabhaumam, na rasadipatyam, na yoga siddhir apunar bhavam va samanjasya tava virahaya kankshe. That, that's what Vritasura is mentioning here in this, the one that Prabhupada is quoting here. And then Prabhupada goes further on, this is a very famous verse, 6th canto, 17th chapter, verse 28, where Lord Shiva, this is the episode of Chitraketu, when Chitraketu was, all the Chitraketu, yeah. He's talking about devotees. Narayana parasarve kutasyana bibhyati swarga pavarga narkeshu apitulyartha darshina. That they just want to serve. Devotees want to serve. And for that, they can either be in Swarga or Apavarga, either hellish or in the Swarga conditions. Or, and Prabhupada added this section here, or in fact, in any situation, whatever. They're not afraid of anything. So they don't want to take any other shelter of any other concept or philosophy other than serving Narayan. And then it goes on, as I mentioned earlier on, chapter 4 is mostly a lot of these verses that Rupa Goswami has collected from Bhagavatam, which say that how impersonalism is not the right thing. It's below bhakti. Bhagavad Gita also, Krishna talks about impersonalism. Does anybody remember which chapter Krishna talks about impersonalism and what does he say about it? Anybody remembers? Anybody, you all can hear me?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay. Which chapter? If you, at least if you can remember the chapter. Which chapter does Krishna talk about?
Is it ninth chapter, Prabhuji? I think ninth chapter.
Yeah, he talks of ninth chapter also. Yes, that's a good one. In the 12th chapter, Arjun very specifically asked this question: that who's better, your devotee or your or people who worship the impersonal Brahman? Evam satyayuktaye bhaktastam paryupashate ye chapi aksharam avyaktam tesham ke yoga vittamaha. He asked that, and Krishna says, no, the devotees are better. He says that, but then he goes on to say that in this world, kleshodhiktarastesham avyakta sakta chetasam avyakta hi gatir dukkham dehavadvir avapyate. That it's practically impossible uh, to make progress in the discipline of impersonalism, in aspiring for liberation, especially for embodied beings like us. So Krishna also denounces liberation, and so yeah. So Krishna also denounces liberation. So across shastras, we always see that liberation is being denounced. And then as we move forward, I think Rupa Goswami also quotes Hanuman and so forth. Yeah. Okay. So how to understand liberation? So like let's discuss liberation a bit. Um, so when patients are admitted to a hospital, right, so they always are thinking of when will we be discharged? When will I be able to return home, be with my loved ones? So even while staying in the hospital for as long as the treatment is needed, they long for the release date, looking forward to what they'll be able to do afterwards. So our condition, our present condition, is uh, compares to a disease, and the material world is like a hospital. And our symptoms of our disease are fourfold: old age, death, disease, birth, rebirth. So the threefold miseries come from our body, our society, and our environment. So these are the things that are our disease. Right? So people who are spiritually enlightened, or at least they're trying to be spiritually enlightened, they recognize the gravity of these miseries. So they understand that these miseries are inevitable. You cannot run away from them. Everybody has to go through these four miseries. So what do then people think is that they want to get released from it. But then our attempts, when we're trying to get released from it, they are sabotaged by our underdeveloped spiritual understanding. Right? As because we are not aware of the positivity of spiritual reality, people who are seeking liberation, their motivation is primarily coming from fear of the negativity of material reality. Like this world is not a good place. This world is not a good place. So, but then we all know that material reality is very attractive and seductive. So those people who are trying to look for liberation in the impersonalist aspect, they falter and they fall down. But then when it comes to bhakti, there is a different kind of liberation we are talking about. So if you understand, right, liberation is on two levels. What am I liberated from, and where am I liberated to? Okay. So let's say I'm in a hospital, and I am later, once I release from the hospital, I'm put in a wasteland. Okay. I was in Delhi recently. I don't know how many of you have seen that, but there's a big mountain of trash that's collected. So you can see it from far off. It's a huge mountain of trash. It's in the um, more closer to, I think it's towards ashram. I don't know. So it's just a huge pile of trash. There are these vultures and all sorts of birds just hanging on top of it, and it's a very stinky place. So let's say somebody I released from the hospital and I'm put in the middle of that wasteland or the trash place. Is that liberation? Is that what I'm looking for? No. I would be okay. Put me back in the hospital. So liberation is on what am I liberated from? Yes, I was liberated from the hospital. But then where am I liberated to? If I put in a trash can, is that a good liberation? No. So what do impersonalists do? They focus on where I am liberated from. The world is a place of misery. Yes, it is. But if that is the only focus, there'll still be misery. So devotees, they focus on both liberated from and liberated to. Yes, devotees also think this place is misery. And we follow what Krishna tells us. What does Krishna say about this world when he says it's misery? Which chapter does he say that? Where does Krishna say that this world is a place of misery?
8th chapter, Prabhuji. Dukkhalayam Saswata.
Yes, Dukhalayam Shashvatam. What's the full verse? You can tell me the full verse. Mamupetya punarjanma dukhalayam ashashvatam napnuvanti mahatmana samsiddhim paramam gata. So this world is a place, and that comes in 8th chapter, 15th verse. So yes, so even Krishna says that this world is a place of misery. As devotees, they're focusing on both liberated from and liberated to. So what Prabhupada is stressing here in this chapter, what Rupa Goswami is stressing here in this chapter is that devotee does not want to go to Brahmajyoti. He doesn't want that. He doesn't want liberation in the impersonal aspect. As long as the devotee is engaged in service, that is the primary request. Okay, wherever you want to, okay, yes, I understand this world is a place of misery. So I want to be liberated from this. But where I want to go, I want to be engaged in service. That is the major request. So that's the important aspect, right? And that's all the examples that have been given here in this chapter from different personalities are referring to that aspect, that the devotees, they refuse personal liberation because there is no aspect of service involved in that. We don't want that. We are looking for a deeper, a higher level of liberation. So liberation in Sanskrit is called mukti. Right? But then Krishna talks of a higher aspect of mukti. He calls it vimukti. In the 9th chapter, towards the end of the 9th chapter, towards the 28th verse, he says, Subha Shubh Phale Revam Mokshase Karma Bandhana Sannyasa Yoga Yuktatma Vimukto Mam Upashyasi. Right? So that there is Vimukti, Mam Upashyasi. So that kind of we want to go to Krishna, we want to be engaged in service of Krishna. That kind of a liberation is what devotees are looking for. They're not looking for the liberation where there's nothing else beyond to do anything. But people who are motivated for seeking liberation primarily from a dislike or negativity of this material reality, then it becomes a problem. Because eventually, if you don't have something to engage yourself, we will falter and we will fall down and we'll come back to this material world. We cannot stay around for a long time in the liberation platform, liberated platform. So yeah, so that's liberation. What does liberation mean? Right? So what Krishna offers us and what devotees like is the special and full liberation that puts us into a reality of love and unending, of reciprocation with Krishna. And then all our longings for love are perfectly and permanently satisfied when we learn to love Krishna. And the process of devotional service helps us to love Krishna even while we are living in this material existence. So here we serve Krishna with whatever resources we have, and wherever we go, we want to serve Krishna with all the resources we have. Okay, so yeah, this is primarily the essence of this chapter. Let's just look at it once more. Let me go back to the slides if I had something else. Okay, yes. So yes, devotees rejecting liberation, and Rupa Goswami and Prabhupada giving a lot of verses of why devotees do that. They become fearless, they are merged in this ocean of bliss, and they're refusing to accept any kind of liberation where there is no service involved. Okay, and then the higher level of devotees, they even reject Vaikuntha. So liberation, then comes Vaikuntha, and then comes Golok Vrindavan. Yes, devotees reject liberation, but then devotees, when they reach a higher level, they even refuse, reject Vaikuntha planets. Not necessarily reject them. We're respecting everything, but we don't want that. We want Krishna's. So they only want to please Krishna. And there is an example of Hanuman that Rupa Goswami gives, that Hanuman didn't want to exchange his emotions for any other form of the Lord other than Ram, right? So he wanted to serve the Lord in a form of Ram. And then there are five different kinds of liberation. The Prabhupada, I think he quotes that in this chapter somewhere here. Where is it? Yes, so there are five kinds of liberations: to become one with the Lord, to live in the same planet as the Lord, to obtain the same bodily features as the Lord, to have the same opulence as the Lord, and to have constant association with the Lord. So the first one is completely rejected outright. We don't want to become one with the Lord. That's impersonalism. Sometimes devotees go for the other four, but and then I think Prabhupada is going to say that. Yeah, here. In the beginning, they may want the opulence of Krishna, but at the mature stage, the dormant love for Krishna exhibited in Vrindavan becomes prominent in their hearts. So then they reject all the other four kinds of liberation also. They don't want any of that anymore. Initially, yeah, it might attract them. Oh, we'll live on the same planet as the Lord and become his uh, friend, and become his associate and so forth. But later on, as we become purer, then it becomes, even those things are not desirable. We're just looking for service or towards Krishna. All the Golok Vrindavan Vasis, they are only looking for service. How can they serve Krishna? See, okay. Uh-huh. Okay, yes. So this is primarily the essence of this chapter. What is liberation? The different types of liberation and why devotees reject that liberation. And then Prabhupada and Rupa Goswami giving us a long list of evidences to prove that liberation is not desirable across Shastras. We serve Krishna with whatever resources we have. So let's move on to before I move on to the next chapter, anything on anybody's mind?
Krishna Prabhu,
Hare Krishna.
I was thinking when you were talking about the liberation, that there are four kinds of liberation. Some of the devotees, they want to have it. And even in the Vaikuntha, when they reach at some point, the love of Krishna exhibits like that in the Vrindavan. Does that mean even after liberation, there is scope to progress further, even if they are in Vaikuntha? So
Even after, so you're saying after liberation, do we have a Is there a further progress after liberation?
Yes, like to achieve the highest form, that is love of God, like that of Vrindavan.
So after that, you mean after achieving love of God, after that, is there a progression? Is that what you mean? Or
No,
to that?
after liberation, like if somebody reaches to Vaikuntha planet, that is a kind of uh, that a person wants to have liberation, that is his desire. But if he reaches there, because your sentence says something like that even after getting those four kind of liberation, at some point they come to that feeling of the love of that is there prominent in Vrindavan.
Mm-hmm.
So even if reaching to the Vaikuntha planet, is there a scope to get further progress into that form of love?
Yes. So in the Brihad Bhagavatamrita, the progression is described in detail. The Brihad Bhagavatamrita by Sanatan Goswami and translated by Gopi Prandhan Prabhu. He's a disciple of Prabhupada. The progression is given that how now. So the basic essence of that book is that the Narad Muni is searching for a pure devotee. Okay, that's the basic essence at least in the first part of the book. He finds a Brahmana in near Prayag who's doing, there's this Kumbh Mela going on and he's serving devotees and so forth. And Narad Muni thinks, oh yes, you're a pure devotee. And then he says, oh no, there's a king in the south who's doing it 24/7 throughout the year. He goes there, oh yes, and then Narad Muni thinks, oh yes, you are a pure devotee. And then the king sends him to Indra, Indra sends to Brahma, Brahma sends to Shiva, Prahlad, Hanuman. So that there is a progression. So yes, that's one progression. Then and then from Hanuman it goes to Pandavas, then Yadavas, and from Yadavas to Uddhava. Out of all the Yadavas, Uddhava was the supreme, was the most pure devotee, and then eventually comes to the gopis. So yes, there is a progression of pure devotionals, of pure being a pure devotee, or being in the loving relationship with Krishna. So there is a progression. However, I'm kind of sensing that you have another part to your question, whether we can. So let me explain that.
Yes, Prabhu.
If you feel that I cannot go and become, let's say we develop a motherly love for Krishna. I cannot go and replace Yashoda Maya in Golok Vrindavan. I can develop the affection similar to Yashoda Maya in Golok Vrindavan.
Mhm.
Okay. So two aspects to it, as I was saying. Yes, the progression is there. Depending on devotees, yes, they keep progressing, and the pure love comes. I gave you the example of Gopa Kumar, who was the character in Brihad Bhagavatamrita, and he progresses, and he progresses further on. That's what first part of the story was, that Narada Muni is looking for the pure devotee, and then the second part of the book is where there's the progression of a devotee's journey. So this Gopa Kumar, he's born in Vrindavan. He gets initiated by somebody. Then from Vrindavan, he goes to Jagannath Puri. From Jagannath Puri, he goes to um, Swarga. He becomes the king of Swarga. He becomes Indradev. Still, he's not satisfied. Then he goes to Vaikuntha. There he meets Narayan, but then he's not satisfied because Narayan is in a more like a kingly mood and not in the mood of loving relationship like what Gopakumar was looking for. Then he eventually reaches Golok Vrindavan, and there he finds his true satisfaction in loving relationship with Krishna as a friend. So yes, so progression also happens. That
Nice.
was one aspect. But the second aspect, what I wanted to highlight, as I said, we cannot replace the pure devotees. And the Prabhupada explains this in the 10th chapter, I think 10th canto, sorry, of Srimad Bhagavatam, that there are Nitya Siddhas who are eternally liberated. And there are Sadhana Siddhas who by the dint of their sadhana become liberated. But it doesn't mean that from my sadhana bhakti, I become liberated and I take over the Nitya Siddhas. No, it doesn't happen. And if I
Mhm.
could, I just wanted to bring those two aspects to you. So yes, to answer your question, there is a progression, but the progression is not that we go and replace the other pure devotees in Golok Vrindavan.
Yeah, it was not matter of replacing. It was that, like say, suppose somebody is in Vaikuntha and he develops that kind of love, then he is transferred to Golok Vrindavan, or he still remains in Vaikuntha only. That was
Your
actually.
progression, Prabhupada says this in the Nectar of Instruction preface,
Mhm,
your progression in bhakti is dependent on you. If you are able to develop that hankering, the lolyam,
mhm,
tatra lolyam ekam mulyam, that if we could develop that desire, intense desire, we can reach the topmost planet, have the most loving relationship with Krishna. But the desire has to come from me. Yes, so if I reach Vaikuntha, but if the desire is still burning in my heart that no, I want a loving relationship with Krishna. I like Narayan, yes, very good. But he's too kingly. That's what Gopakumar was feeling. He's saying that, oh
mhm,
my God, I can't hug him. Whenever I try to hug Narayan, his servants come and push me away. No, not push me,
mhm,
but they don't let me do that. But I want a
mhm.
loving relationship. So then for that reason, because of that intense desire in my heart, he's promoted to Golok Vrindavan. And
Okay,
there he
okay.
gets to hug Krishna.
Yes, now I understand. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, you're
Great.
welcome.
Uh,
Okay, anything else, anyone?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna.
So what happens if you have mixed desire? Like,
Mixed desires,
yeah,
like
like,
means like material and spiritual, you mean?
no, like a motherly desire, like for the baby Krishna, and then Vatsalya desire, like the gopis, right?
Huh?
That's like mixed desires, right?
Yeah.
Well,
Well, as that's where then still we are not at a point of our understanding what our true relationship is with Krishna. So that's still a progression point. As we grow in bhakti, a point will come to us that our relationship with Krishna will be revealed. Right? And for example, um, Balramji, he serves Krishna in all those different aspects. He serves as a servant also, as a friend also, Sakhya, Dasya, and he's also Vatsalya. He's like a parent. He takes care of Krishna. So yes, he has multiple of those. So we can also achieve that, and that's fine. Krishna will figure out a way to engage you and bring you in his fold if you have different kind of feelings. But it's possible. Lord Balram does that. Serve Krishna in multiple aspects, multiple ways.
yeah, because we're still kind of young at this, right? We're still trying to figure out ourselves, you know. So whatever roop you see, you fall in love with that roop, and so the baby Krishna's roop. Of course, you cannot not fall in love with baby Krishna, right? At the
Yeah.
same time, you cannot not want to be a gopi, to love Krishna like a lover.
Yeah, but this desire will be defined. Right now, our desire is on a very superficial level. Yes, I want to love Krishna as a friend. I want to serve him. Yes, it's there, but still it's at a very superficial level. When it comes from the core of your heart, it'll be very, very focused. It'll be very, very clear to you what kind of a relationship will you have with Krishna. So that will eventually happen. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. Nothing else. We can move on to chapter 5, the purity of devotional service. Okay. Purity of So, okay, yes. While on my break, I was thinking about this that um, we read these words, phrases actually, pure devotee, pure devotional service. What does it mean actually? What is it that these things mean? So let's say I'll ask you a question. Are we pure devotees? Oh, when I say we means the group that we are here, 15, 16 people that we are here. Devotees are here. Are we pure devotees?
Not yet, Prabhu.
Okay. Why not? Why don't you think yourself to be a pure devotee?
Because the moment we think we are pure, that moment we are nowhere. We just fall
Uh-huh.
down. And this is one reason. And then that we are still the work in progression. We have not achieved that platform. So we are just following the footsteps. In that way, we have that kind of purity, a little purity within us, not fully to the extent, because we are still uh, superficially trying to love Krishna. It is not coming directly from the heart as yet.
Yeah.
So that
Okay.
is what.
Yeah, that's a good point. Anybody else has any thoughts? Are we pure devotees? Or if somebody
Hare
wants,
Krishna. Yep. So
yes, go ahead, Deepti.
we have so many anarthas still to overcome,
Hmm.
which is uh blocking road and becoming a step ahead for being a pure devotee.
Okay.
Prabhuji, I think so. We are not pure devotees because we are doing Vedic Bhakti right now, right? We are just following the four regulatory principles and trying
Hmm.
to chant 16 rounds, trying to progress in the path of uninterrupted, unmotivated, unconditioned love for Krishna. We are not even, we are like miles away from that because still we are affected by the dualities of life, still we are affected by the miseries of life. A pure devotee is
Yeah.
not affected by that. Pure devotee just knows to love God in whatever situation he is in, but we are
So,
nowhere there.
okay. Yeah, thank you. So I think what you all are saying is that pure devotee is a final destination. Like that, okay, one day I'll be a pure devotee. Right now I'm not, and I'll be a pure devotee someday. That's the way I'm understanding it, that pure devotee is a destination we are looking for. Prabhupada explains it differently for all of us. Okay. So let's see what pure devotee and devotional service is. So pure devotional service has all these aspects to it, right? That this is coming from Chaitanya Charitamrita Madhya Leela. There are different aspects to it. This is the 9 steps, right? We have uh, sadhu sangha, bhajan kriya, nibriti, and so forth. So we have all those. So when we are functioning in any of them, that is pure devotional service. Right? Pure devotee, another aspect of pure devotee, Prabhupada gives this example quite, I've heard that in a couple of classes that he's given that pure devotional service is a continuous journey. So I put here 2 mangoes. There is a raw mango. It represents a devotee who is in the early stage of devotion, still growing and learning. Okay. As the mango ripens, it becomes more mature and sweet. And it represents a devotee who has advanced in their devotion, who has more qualities of a pure devotee, such as selflessness, deeper love for Krishna. So pure devotional service means offering one's heart and action in service to Krishna without any selfish motive or desires for material gain. The practice can begin at any stage, but it remains true to its essence. Right? Serving Krishna with sincerity, following the principles of bhakti yoga, cultivating love for Lord. So as a devotee advances, the expression of that service deepens and matures, just like the mango ripening. So in essence, and so we have talked about this in the past, I'm not going to repeat this, that when we are strict, serious, and sincere in our sadhana, we are pure devotees. Prabhupada says this in one of the morning walks. If you're following a pure devotee, then you're also a pure devotee. Right? So so pure devotional service is as a it's not a black and white, that today I'm not a pure devotee and tomorrow I'll be a pure devotee. Even a neophyte devotee who is following the rules and regulations of sadhana bhakti is considered to be practicing pure devotional service. But the difference is that the neophyte may still be learning and yet not on the topmost platform of devotional maturity. And Prabhupada gives this example, the quote that he put there from his walk, that if you're working under a expert person, right? Let's say there's an expert mechanic you're working under, and you're working under that person's instructions. Right? Because I'm working under the instructions of an expert, I'm also an expert. I may not be a 100% expert, but my work is expert because I'm working under an expert person. Because I'm working under that expert. So if we follow pure devotees, then we are also pure devotees. Not being perfectly pure, but we are trying to raise ourselves from the conditional life. But if we are strict, serious, and sincere, then we are also pure devotees. So far we do that, that is pure. So pure devotee does not mean one has to become immediately 100% pure. But if that person sticks to the principle that I will follow a pure devotee, then he's as good as a pure devotee. Right? Mahajano yena gatha sapantha. When we are following a Mahajan, then we become a pure devotee. And Prabhupada has said this on multiple occasions, that just this mango concept that Prabhupada talks about. So I just wanted to bring this concept out here because Prabhupada, Rupa Goswami, they're going to talk a lot about pure devotee, pure devotional service, and they have been talking and they're going to talk more. We should have an understanding of what pure devotional service is, what is a pure devotee. So it boils down to the fact that if we are doing it seriously, if we have that strict, serious, and sincere attitude, then we are also pure devotee. I might not be pure as an Uttama Adhikari, but in the state of Kanishta Adhikari that I am, I still have some amount of purity. Right? So it's not like one day I'm zero purity and tomorrow I become 100% purity. Right? If somebody, let's say, you're saying, okay, you ask a kid that, okay, are you a good boy? Oh, yes, the child is good in some days. In some moments, the child is not a good child. But the child is good because he or she has some good quality. Might not be that 100% good qualities, but still the child is a good child. So similarly, as a Kanishta Adhikari, I might not have the full qualities of an Uttama Adhikari, but still I have some qualities. And more importantly, because I'm sincerely following a pure devotee, then I'm also a pure devotee. Might not be in that perfect position of that. I might not have that ripened attitude as of yet. So yes, so pure devotee and pure devotional service. In the 10th chapter, right? Dadami buddhi yogam tam yena mam upayante. So that 10.10, Priti Purvakam. How do we serve Krishna with Priti Purvakam? Priti means love, is by being strict, serious, and sincere. So that's what Priti Purvakam means. Strict, serious, and sincere. So either a raw mango or a ripe mango. You're still the same mango. Right? We are a mango, right? So yes, I'm not ripe yet, but I'm still a mango. So both early stage and advanced stage devotees, they're still practicing pure devotional service, though the experience of it differs. And when we become servants to a pure devotee, then we develop humility. So, and yes, Deepti brought out the concept of anartha. Yeah, we can work on our anarthas. That's okay. Probably I'm not under my mind is not under my control. I can repent my actions, and eventually my values change, my actions change, my characters changes. So, if there is no hypocrisy, those are pure devotees. Right? That's the essence. So, yeah, I just wanted to bring this out. Any thoughts or comments on this before we move on to the next chapter? All clear to everybody? We all are pure devotees, but at different levels of progression in the process.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
So, Prabhu, I just wanted to ask you that is there any stage like that we can feel that we are a pure devotee?
At any stage, if you are a pure devotee,
Like,
but as I just mentioned, you are a pure devotee. Might be at a different level, right?
Hmm.
See, when you talk of pure devotional service, let's say, okay, so the main attribute is
Hmm.
surrender to Krishna. That's the main thing.
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
Swarup Lakshan of divine of that quality.
Yes, definitely.
Uh,
Mhm.
and from that comes different from subsections of that will be you develop compassion, tolerance, kindness, truthfulness, right? So
Hmm.
so the devotee, as a neophyte to a pure devotee, we are going from selfishness to selflessness.
Hmm.
How much can we be humble?
Right.
But so you can judge yourself by looking yourself back, let's say 3 or 4 years or 5 years ago, and if you see a difference in yourself,
Mhm.
that I become more compassionate, I become more tolerant,
Right.
I've become more serious in my service. So that's a big challenge. We all, you know, that's why Prabhupada called it devotional service and not devotion. Because
Hmm.
without service, there is no devotion. So if you
Yes.
see yourself becoming more and more serious about your service, you're progressing to that perfect stage.
Hmm.
So those are the ways you can understand it, very practical ways. That if there are those qualities that are showing up in you of tolerance and compassion and
Right.
your desire to serve is becoming more and more concentrated and
Well,
focused.
mhm.
So that's a sign that you're progressing.
Yes, definitely. Thank you, Prabhu. Yes.
You're welcome.
Mhm.
And we have example of Prabhupada, who was a pure devotee. He's an Uttamadhikari.
Mhm.
So you can look at Prabhupada. Prabhupada, all of Prabhupada's qualities, everything he did was only for Krishna. So that's the perfected stage. That he was compassionate, tolerant, and everything. So he was fully surrendered to Krishna. But that doesn't mean that as I'm saying again, that it's not like one day you're zero and tomorrow you'll be 100.
Right.
So you'll
Mhm.
keep on progressing. Your surrender will keep on progressing to Krishna. And the more you surrender, the more you will be focused in your service. Your desire to serve your spiritual master, to Prabhupada, will keep on becoming more and more concentrated. Those things will give you an indication that, yes, I am progressing in my bhakti part.
Yes, Prabhu. Thank you, Prabhu.
Okay. Hare Krishna.
So, Prabhuji, I had a question.
Yes, please.
Prabhuji, I know you just in the previous slide, you tried to make us understand that we are all pure devotees because we are giving the example of a mango, right? Unripe
Mhm.
mango versus ripe mango. Like when we did Nectar of Instruction and all, we understood that there was three categories of devotees, right?
Mhm.
Kanish Adhikari, Madhya Adhikari, and Uttam Adhikari. And when we reach to the stage of Uttam Adhikari, that's the time we are near to being a pure devotee. That was my understanding of being a pure devotee. We are all devotees. We
Mhm.
are devotee because we are serving the Lord, because we are following Bhakti Yoga, because we are doing Krishna consciousness. So we are in the category of a devotee. But
Mhm.
once we are moving from one level of being a Kanishta, being a neophyte to Madhyadhikari to Uttamadhikari, and
Mhm.
when we are Uttamadhikari, that's the time we can think ourselves close to be a pure devotee. Because that's the time most of our anathas, basically like the envy, jealousy, hypocrisy, duality is all being shed off. So yeah,
Mhm.
mango was synonymous with being a devotee. But I was not thinking mango is not synonymous being with the pure devotee, unripened and ripened. So this is like a
Mhm.
totally different understanding of what we had read in Nectar of Instruction, or for that matter in previous chapters.
Yeah. So yes, we read about all those Uttamadhikari, but just to let you know, the word adhikari means that we have some adhikar. We have some capacity to practice spiritual life. So when we say Kanishta Adhikari, don't consider Kanishta Adhikari to be a very low platform. We just read in I think it was the second chapter of Nectar of Devotion, that how Kanishta Adhikari, they have some sense that, okay, yes, this is what we want to do. Yeah, they might not be fixed in their process very strongly, but they have a capacity. They're much better than other people. So based on our individual capacities, we can follow recommendations and we can follow different things at different levels. So adhikar is there. We have some adhikar. That's what I'm referring to. Yes, in Nectar of Instructions, we read that okay, different level of devotees and so forth. What I want to stress upon is that being a pure devotee is not a black and white picture. If let's say there might be at least how to say it, a minute or two in your day where your heart is fully dedicated to Krishna, right? When you sit down to chant, you're doing some service, you're engaged in something, you're really enjoying the rasa in that relationship, right? In that service. Is that a correct? Can I say that statement?
Yes,
I'm not asking. I'm not saying that you have to be hours or full, but there might be even a fraction of a second where you feel that, right? Sorry, I missed your answer. What did you say?
yes, Prabhu, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, there are moments.
So,
Yeah.
so at that one moment, you are a pure devotee, right? So it's not that, as I'm saying, that pure devotee is not a black and white. The thing is that a pure devotee, the ripe mango, is one who's 24/7 thinking about Krishna. On the other hand, I'm not thinking of 24/7, but there are some times. So you still have some amount of purity in you, right? Why are you ignoring or rejecting that part? We are pure devotees, but not to the extent of that ripe mango state. I am a pure devotee in my own adhikar, whatever limited capacity I have. That's the difference. But that doesn't mean that I'm not a pure devotee. And then I have a very simple statement that if you're following a pure devotee, we become a pure devotee. And Prabhupada gave the example of mechanic. If you're following a mechanic, you're also a perfect mechanic because you're exactly following what the senior mechanic is telling you to do. Then you're also a mechanic, right? You cannot go and say that, oh no, he's not a mechanic. But no, he's also a mechanic because he's doing exactly what his senior is telling him. So when you look at Nectar of Instruction, those different stages, they were taught from a perspective of understanding that those people can be in different levels in the path. But that doesn't mean they don't have an adhikar. They have some capacity to practice that pure devotional service. Right? So being on a Kanishta level is a very good stage, that at least we have some adhikar. There are people who are below the Kanishta stage also, who have no adhikar to practice in bhakti. So they are not in the come under the purview of pure devotional service. They're not pure devotee. But the moment I'm sincerely trying to follow this process, I am a pure devotee, not in that full context. Might not be 100% pure, but I have some amount of purity in me. So with that limited amount of purity that we have, I'm on pure. I'm a pure devotee. No, I don't have that 100% of I'm not a 100% pure devotee. I might be a 10% pure devotee. I might be a 5% pure devotee, but I am a pure devotee, right? So that's the way to understand that.
Got it, Prabhu. I had the understanding either you're pure or you're not. There was no like semi-pure, 10% pure. I was like purity is purity, or there's any amount of mixture is not a pure thing, right? That is what
Yeah.
I had understanding. Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank
but
you,
you
Prabhu.
look at that thing from a different concept, right? You're saying yes, mixture. Let's say somebody mixed, atta, right? And they mixed something else in that atta, but there is some pure atta in there also, right? Some pure flour in there. So why are we rejecting that pure flour in there? So if you see, generally what we all do is, at least what I do is, I spend like around 10% of my day in bhakti. 3 hours at the most. Like I read something, I chant, and I do some arti. That's just 10% of my daily life. But then there is examples of devotees in the Bhagavatam who invested 10% of their lives and they were considered pure devotees. There's prachetas. We're told prachetas they lived for 100,000 years, and out of those 100,000 years, they were meditating under the waters for 10,000 years. So they only invested 10% of their life. I'm also doing the same thing. I'm investing 10% of my life every day. Right? Obviously, more we invest is better. I'm not saying to limit it to 10%. But even that 10% I'm investing every day makes me eligible to go back home, back to Godhead. Krishna does not look for black and white. He's not looking for, oh, when Prem will become 100% devotee, then I will take him back home. No, it's not that way. Strict, serious, and sincere. If you do it with that sincerity, that's very pleasing to Krishna, and he accepts it. He always takes that tiny purity, and he accepts that. When Shishupal, sometimes somebody asked me this question a few years ago, that Shishupal was liberated. He was always cursing Krishna. Always cursing Krishna. That was the boon that Krishna gave him when he was born, that, hey, I will forgive you 100, was it 100? I think 100,
Friends.
yeah, 100 sins towards me. And when those were completed, he just cut off his head. Right? But how did Shishupal become liberated was because, and Shishupal is Jay and Vijay, right? So we know that story, the background. That when he was about to die, that chakra was coming towards him to kill him. For that one fraction of a second, he thought, oh my God, Krishna is so beautiful. And this is given in the, is it in the Bharat Bhagavatamrita or Laghu Bhagavatamrita? I can confirm that and let you know. But in one of those two books, this analogy is given. That Shishupal, just in that last fraction of a second, with that sincerity, he said, oh my God, Krishna is so beautiful. And he got liberated. So it was not that he was zero and then he suddenly became 100. There was he was thinking about Krishna for one, yes. But then there was some amount of purity that was already in him. And Krishna took that and he accepted it. So, yeah, so pure devotee is a progression, yes, for sure. But if you're sincerely following a pure devotee, we are also pure devotees. Our adhikar might be different. Kanishtha, Madhyama, Uttama. The adhikar part is different. According to our adhikar, we'll get the mercy. And if we continue to be, how to say it, deserving, Krishna will let us progress. Deserve before we desire. That's it said, right? So when we deserve more, how do we deserve more? By doing whatever we are doing in bhakti, strict, serious, and sincere. Then my adhikar also increases. It expands. So that the pure devotee aspect of me starts to shine forth. Right now, it's not shining forth. It's still in there. I am a pure devotee in me, but it's not shining out forth brightly. That will eventually come when I continue to do everything with Priti Purvakam. Okay. Okay, so let's jump on to the next chapter. So chapter 5, again, I think chapter 5, let me see what's the name of that chapter. Yeah, the purity of devotional service. Yeah, okay, that's the reason I wanted to bring about this concept of purity, because it's critical. It's important to understand that. And we have read that verse, right? So many times. Jato Shraddhamat Kathasu Nirvinna Sarva Karmashu Veda Dukhatmakat Kaman Parityagya Pinishwara. Which that's 11:20. Oh, I'm not sharing my screen. I'll quickly show you that verse before we jump on to that next chapter. So it's called Pure Devotional Service. The name of the chapter is Pure Devotional Service. 11th canto, chapter 20. And in this, there's two verses that I just like very much. This one. Jato Shraddhamat Kathasu Nirvinna Sarva Karmashu. Having awakened faith in the narration of my glories, being disgusted with all material activities, knowing that all sense gratification leads to misery, but still being unable to renounce all sense enjoyment, my devotee should remain happy and worship me with great faith and conviction. Even though he is sometimes engaged in sense enjoyment, my devotee knows that all sense gratification leads to a miserable result, and he sincerely repents such activities. So what does the purport begin with? This is a purport by Prabhupada's disciples. The beginning stage of pure devotional service is described here. They're not saying that, oh, and he's not a pure devotee and then he will become a pure devotee. These are the beginning stages of a pure devotional service. And I always find a lot of solace in this verse because I always hear My mind is always fooling me. I'm trying to control my mind, but I cannot. But I'm sincere. That's the only quality I have. At least, and that quality also comes from devotees, Prabhupada and then spiritual master and so forth. But that's the only quality I have. But then, even to such a person, Krishna is calling them my devotee. I so uh, that's the way to look at it. It's a Krishna is not looking for 100% perfection before he considers me as his devotee. Krishna is considering me as his devotee already. Okay, so let's jump on to the 5th chapter. Okay. So this chapter also has a lot of verses that Rupa Goswami and Prabhupada are going to bring out. So 3 things. So as I mentioned, bhakti is pure and free from 3 requirements. Now, what the author Rupa Goswami is going to establish is that nothing is needed for being a pure devotee except that desire, the sincerity. Okay? That's the only thing that's needed. And purity is purely independent. And then Rupa Goswami will start from the chapter, from the verse. This is 1.2.5, not 6. Savai pumsham paro dharmo yato bhakti radhokshaji ahitukya pratihata yayatma suprasidati. And Prabhupada brings this out in the purport that devotional service is executed without any hope and it cannot be checked by material circumstances. Ahituki, apratihata and ahituki. So this is 1.2.5. That's the verse that's being referred to here. Right. So unmotivated, uninterrupted in the way we perform it. Right? And that is indication that we are practicing pure devotional service. So even unmotivated and uninterrupted can be on two levels, right? The way we perform bhakti, and another way to look at it is that the pure devotional service is also uninterrupted and unmotivated. So the service itself is unmotivated and uninterrupted. So something that is not material cannot be contaminated by material things. So devotional service by itself is unmotivated, uninterrupted. And the devotee, when the devotee practices it in an unmotivated, uninterrupted way, that's also an indication that we are practicing pure devotional service. Right? So when the plane is flying up in the sky, it's not affected by the earthquakes. So devotional service is not caused by material and will not be interrupted by anything material. And Prabhupada and Rupa Goswami, they give many different concepts in here. Prabhupada talks about Nityananda Vamsha. So what happened was once when when Mahaprabhu left, there were a lot of people who started calling themselves as followers or the descendants of Nityananda. And they were strictly against anybody being given a Brahman thread or being considered a Brahman unless they were born in that uh, descendants. And Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he was a revolutionary and he shook up things. He started to dismantle this caste Goswami attitude. And for that, he was attacked in Vrindavan, Parikrama, and there were a lot of there were even murder attempts at him. So what the essence of this chapter is that these are the 3 general claims that are given that are needed for bhakti. Pious birth. So dismantling that aspect, Rupa Goswami is giving evidences from Padma Puran, Skanda Puran, and he gives also Ali Bhakti Vilas. Prabhupada adds the example of Sri Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur and begins with that 1.2.5 verse. And then so what Rupa Goswami is establishing here, that pure devotional service is open to all, regardless of caste, nationality, or background. And Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur very strongly fought against those false ideas. So, and we see that Prabhupada following the same concept, that there are devotees from all over the world. So, which shows that bhakti is not restricted to birth or social status. Right? And then Prabhupada goes on to tell us that it talks of initiation. That where is that? Oh yeah. Initiated properly by a bona fide spiritual master, he should not think that simply by acceptance of such initiation his business is finished. So Prabhupada is immediately correcting us that, okay, yes, devotional service does not have any material qualifications. If anybody can practice it, but then there is sense of rules and regulations that you have to follow. Otherwise, we'll fall down. Right? Just like a student, once the student is admitted to a university, but if that student does not study diligently, he will fail. Right? So similarly, a devotee, once he's initiated in the process, must practice sadhana bhakti sincerely. Okay. And then Prabhupada will go on to tell us that pure devotion, and Rupa Goswami, they both will tell us that pure devotional services without any tinge of karma and jnana. That's something that will be talked about in there. Yeah, karma and jnana aspect. Prabhupada will bring that part out. That karma, ritualistic activities, or philosophical speculation, that's jnana. In bhakti, it's completely different. Bhakti directly connects one with Krishna. Good. And then there is a very interesting concept that's brought out, is that there is no prashchit needed. Right? So that's another thing Prabhupada brings out, and Rupa Goswami brings out in this, is that no prashchita is needed when we are following bhakti process. Generally, when we are doing karma kanda activities, materialistic activities, we need to atone for something we have done wrong. Okay, so there is no. If a devotee accidentally falls from his practice, he does not need to perform separate rituals for purification. Simply continuing bhakti reinstates him. But sometimes, obviously, it goes without saying that if some devotee is doing something wrong, especially in a leadership position, then he or she has to be disciplined. That's why we have GBC that disciplines devotees if they're making any mistakes, right? So, but then as devotional practitioners, we don't have to do any ritualistic activities to fix ourselves, right? And then devotional service removes all our debts to ancestors, sages, demigods, all of them. Because serving Krishna automatically benefits everyone. And the example is given that we water the roots of the tree. So when we water the roots of a tree, all the branches and leaves receive nourishment. Okay. And then there is a discussion about Varnashrama system here. I won't go over those details because we have talked about Varnashrama system many times in the past. What is Varnashrama system? So Varnashrama system is not needed for bhakti. But Varnashrama system is helpful for bhakti. If we follow Varnashrama, and Varna and Ashrama system, basically Krishna says this, Chaturvarnya Maya Shishtam Guna Karma Vibhagaya, 4th chapter, 11th verse, Krishna says that I have created this Chaturvarna, Guna and Karma. According to one's Guna and Karma, you have created this. So whatever my Guna and Karma is, if I work according to that, my life will be peaceful, and whatever time I have remaining, I can use it for Krishna's service. So that's basically Varnashrama system. However, Varnashrama system is not needed for bhakti, as I was saying earlier. Okay? And then Rupa Goswami gives examples from all these different Bhagavatam verses and also Bhagavad Gita to tell us that surrendering to Krishna is the highest duty. That's the highest thing. And the moment we start practicing bhakti, we are removed from all the debts. So yes, so this is the 5th chapter, taking us towards the progression from the title of the 5th chapter is Purity of Devotional Service. So essence being the purity of devotional service is not bound to anything as it's been wrongly presented in this world. Sometimes some people say that it's because of birth, or it's because I'm following the varnashrama this system properly, or because I've done some atonement. No, all that is not needed. Purity of devotional service is just dependent on the sincerity that I have in my heart, and Krishna appreciates that, and he gives us devotional service, irrespective of my background. However jagai or badai I've been, Krishna accepts my sincerity. So it gives us an option that everybody is eligible. You cannot reject. Some sections of the society, they say either it's my way or you all are going to hell. But no, Krishna does not say that. Krishna says everybody is welcome. Yes, we all might be at different stages. Please come and place yourself accordingly. But everybody is welcome. There are no restrictions. That's the beauty of bhakti process. Okay, yes. Any thoughts on this chapter before we move? All good? All good, all good. Okay. Okay, that sounds good then. If this is good. Yeah, so this Nectar of Devotion is a next level book. That's why we read it at the end, so that our concepts are all clear before we come to this aspect. And Nectar of Devotion will establish the supremacy of devotional service for all of us. And this was the instruction given to Rupa Goswami by Mahaprabhu, and then also to Sanatana Goswami. That's what Mahaprabhu had wanted him to do. Bhakta Bhakti Krishna Prema Tatvera Nidhat Vaishnavera Kritya Ara Vaishnavachar. Krishna Bhakti Krishna Prema Seva Pravartan Lupta Tirtha Udharana Vairagya Sikshan. So this was the said Mahaprabhu wanted Rupa Goswami, Sanatana Goswami to teach everybody about about bhakti, about Krishna Prema. And that's what Rupa Goswami is doing it very, very systematically for all of us. He's quoting Shastras, examples to establish that bhakti is the highest platform. Okay?
Thanks, Prabhu.